Hi everyone, Jessica here with CrochetItCreations.com, and today we are going to work on a video tutorial for how to make the baby 6-month size of the Cameo cardigan. So the Cameo cardigan has been a pattern that I have been working on for a while, a couple months, and finally we are getting to the end of it. We started with women's adult sizes that went from a size 0 to a size 20. And now we are working down the child sizes, and here we are on the baby. So hopefully, I wanted this tutorial to show you basically how to do the whole pattern from start to finish. Obviously, this is the baby size, so you would want to adjust, but it's the same technique. So we are going to start today by doing a foundation row. So the pattern calls for 28 stitches of the foundation single crochet. So when you're doing a foundation row, you are creating the chain and the stitch all in one. So here we are inserting into this part that would be the chain and then making the single crochet. So here inserting into the chain, making the chain, which is the foundation, and then the single crochet. So and like I said, this is 28 stitches. So, and I have not been counting, so I'll have to go back through and count when I think it's been enough. And the yarn that I'm using here is Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn, and I'm missing the label, so I don't remember exactly what color it is. This is just yarn for my stash. It's kind of like a really pretty coral color, and I can't remember exactly what it's called. I wish I had the label though. It's a beautiful color. And the Hobby Lobby, I love this yarn, works perfect for this pattern because the pattern's a little bit oversized and comfy. And so when you use the Hobby Lobby, I love this yarn, and wash it, it kind of just gives it the real perfect, relaxed, comfy feeling. There's plenty of other yarns that you can use, though. It uses a worsted weight yarn. I wouldn't recommend going down to a lightweight just yet. I'm going to work on a cardigan for that though. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Pretty close, 25. So 26, 27, 28. And I'm going to recount those just to make sure I'm right. I don't hate pulling stitches out. 28. Okay, so we are going to chain 2 and then turn. So this pattern is worked in back and forth rows of single crochet and then double crochet. So it's pretty simple because we're essentially repeating the same pattern throughout. it's also worked the same way on the sleeves. So, and then one thing I love about this pattern, I hope you all love it too, is that we do not sew. So there's no sewing for attaching sleeves, attaching border, sewing shoulders. There's no sewing. Only reason why you would need a needle is to weave in the ends when you're finished, which is awesome. So basically it's worked in a front panel with an armhole, and then you move on to the back panel, and then another armhole, and then the front panel. So those are all done in one with complete sequence without finishing off, and then we just join the shoulder seams as we work them. So I will show you how to do that. That's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted this tutorial, is that so you can see how those joins are done. I know that it can kind of be confusing when you're reading a pattern, and I can put, you know, thousands of notes on there and photos, and it just doesn't do as well as having a video. So we're on row 3, single crochet. And I definitely recommend, before you start this pattern, to do a gauge swatch. It uses a K 6.5 millimeter hook, which is a bigger hook than suggested for this yarn. I believe the suggested yarn or hook is an I. So that's 2 sizes up. So we're using that, so it just has extra stretch and comfort and larger stitches. So basically with a gauge swatch, you know, it'll let you know how many stitches you're getting in the 4-inch square and how many rows, and then you can know if you're on point with what the pattern says. And if you're not, then you want to adjust your hook so that you can get there. So we are now on row 4. And we're doing double crochets. So we just go to row 6. So I hope you all have been following Crochet It Creations on Instagram and Facebook. We also have a Facebook group that is just started out, so it's still pretty small, but there's a group that you can post questions in, you can post your photos, you can tag me and ask me questions. Sometimes that's one of the fastest ways to get to me. I do check my emails daily. So now we are on row 5. So we're almost there. Okay, so we are going to chain 2, turn, and work row 6 for 28 stitches. So I'm going to count as I go now to make sure I have the correct amount. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 20, 21, 26, 27, 28. So that is very important to count your stitches. I would suggest to count them on each row because, you know, there's many times where you can miss a stitch and then it throws your entire pattern off, and you don't want to get, you know, halfway through it and have a wrong stitch count and then have to tear your work out. Sometimes you can get around making up for it. Just depends on where it's at or how many stitches missed. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 16. So this is row 7. And if you're making the adult sizes, there's a pocket row. So you would work your single crochet, chain, and then do the rest for the pocket. The child sizes do not have a pocket, and that's just because they're so small that it wouldn't work to have hidden pockets. You could make one afterwards and then sew it on, but I did not do that into the pattern. I'm hoping to add an extra on how to sew on pockets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is the armhole row. So I single crocheted 16, and then we're going to chain 12 for the armhole. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. I'm going to count stitches here because I just chained 12, so there should be 12 left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so this is going to be the armhole. So hopefully you could see all that. So here is the panel, the front panel, and then you've got the armhole. So we are going to take, let me find out what, so we're going to take and we're going to slip stitch right into that chain, that first chain there of row 6. And I always recommend to pull your slip stitches tight. That just kind of helps make them less visible. And then we're going to chain again, or slip stitch again, slip stitch again into that chain. So there we go. So that is going to count as your chain 2 for the double crochet row. So we're creating a seam. We're going to slip stitch all the way across here as we work. I know it sounds confusing, but it'll make sense. So slip stitched into each chain of the chain 2 here from row 6. So then we're going to turn our work, and in the notes it says turn left over right. Turn your work and then and then readjust your tension, which means it's kind of pull that where it's tight on your hook. And then we're going to work back down this chain. So actually we're going to work in the back bump of the chain. So right there, a little back bump that goes all the way across. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I know the notes don't say to crochet in the back bump, and you don't have to do that. I mean, it does create this nice little edging. That's why I love crocheting the back bump of a chain. It just makes it look more completed, but you can do it however you please. And then we're going to do 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay, so there is the armhole, and then you have it where we're working the back panel along here. So we're gonna chain one and turn and go back down. So we are on row 9. So I've gotten lots of feedback on these cardigans. I had testers that tested it, and then I've had a couple of people tag me on social media. I think the first one was released on Friday of last week. So today is Tuesday. We released it Friday, so it hasn't been out there very long, but I've got people tag me and saying they're working on it and really loving the simplicity of it. It's just, you know, the same pattern, single crochets, double crochets, and then slip stitching as you go to join the rows, so you don't have to come back later and sew it the shoulders up or any of that. So right there, I just single crocheted in that last stitch, the last double crochet. So now this is where it gets kind of tricky, especially if you're using dark yarn. Thankfully this is a lighter yarn, you could see pretty well, but I added something in there to use stitch markers if you need to. But so this is a single crochet row. See, that's a single crochet row there. You're gonna slip stitch into that. So that is gonna join these two single crochet rows together. Single crochet meets single crochet. So that's gonna join that. Then you're next gonna join, slip stitch I should say, across these 2 chains from the double crochet row, and that's going to give you your next 2 chains for your work. So there, for when you turn your work. I hope I'm making sense. So slip stitch, slip stitch. So there's your chain 2 for when you turn. So we're creating this seam down the shoulder. So when I said you can use stitch markers, is what I meant is you should probably place it here in the single crochet of the next one, the next row, for when you come back down. That way you know where to go to it. This is especially important when working dark yarn. So we're going to turn left over right. And my camera bumped. And then readjust the tension. So pull it tight. And then go back down, double crocheting across. And this is where especially it's important with counting your stitches, because it's easy when you're getting to the top of there to miss a stitch and get thrown off. So especially when you're working with darker yarn, sometimes it's harder to see those stitches. You can misjudge things. So and I think I've told you, but the child sizes will come as child large, which is for child 10-12. And then we have child small, which is a 6-8. And then a preschool size, which is 3-5. So like a 3-5 toddler size or little girls. And then we have toddler size, which is for like a 1 or 2 year old. And then this is baby size, which is for a 6-month-old. So the Cameo cardigan will go from baby all the way to women's 20. So it is on crochetitcreations.com. The patterns are each individually for free on there. Or you can purchase the PDF printable version on Ravelry for $5 for the adult, and then I think I'm going to have the child posted separate because they are separate patterns. It's different pictures, different no pockets and stuff, and a little bit different. So those will also be $5. So check them out and let me know what you think. And if you don't want to purchase the PDF, you can view it on Crochet It Creations anytime. So there, I just slip stitched into the single crochet. Now, and that would be where I put my stitch marker. So now I join that single crochet row to single crochet row. We've got double crochet rows that meet up. Same down here. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the chain. So each chain, and there's my chain 2 essentially for the next row. So I had someone recently message me and was like, I didn't realize that you could just join and turn and count that as your chains for your stitch. I never thought about it. I'm like, I have been cutting corners with crocheting and trying to get around sewing as much as I could my entire crocheting life. I'm not a fan of sewing. I mean, I don't mind to if I have to, but if I can slip stitch something together or crochet it together somehow, then I'm going to try to do that. So it makes complete sense to me because we only chain just so we can get to the height of the stitch, right? So we chain 1 for single crochet because it's essentially the height of a chain 1. We chain 2 for double crochet because it's the height of chain 2. So we only do that to get to the height of it. So why not slip stitch to get to the height and then keep working down? Makes sense to me, right? So we are at the end of this row. I don't even know how many rows we've gotten, but we should be on 12 according to the pattern. So we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we are on row 13, which is the last of the joining here. So if it's 6 rows for the front panel and 6 rows for the back panel, and then you add 1 row for the arm hole, you've got 13. So we are on row 13. So this one can be a little tricky because you are going to slip stitch into the foundation single crochet row and it looks kind of different. So that's another one that when you're using dark yarn can get really confusing because here we're at the top of the work. We're single crocheting here. You've got this row left over here that's the foundation single crochet. It looks a little different. We're just going to slip stitch right into the end of it. So now, look at that. We have a front panel, and then we have the back panel, and we're going to keep working the back panel. So now, we've joined that. You want to chain 2. We are on row 14. And you're just going to keep going across the rest of the back panel. Cord is making noises. Okay. So then we're just going to work all the way across the back panel, and then we'll make the armhole and we'll turn around and do the front panel. So it's all worked in one complete continuous rows without any decreasing or increasing or finishing off or any of that. And I will tell you, I have worked on this pattern for months. I started out with a different stitch and it wasn't working out. So I went on to a different stitch and it wasn't working out. Actually, I think I went through 3 or 4 different stitches. I really like the camel stitch. I like the knit look of it. I have several patterns that use the camel stitch. Goodness. So I was trying to use that and it just... yeah, it was not good. So, I don't know, maybe something else in the future can use the camel stitch, but this pattern was not working with it. So I decided I'm not really a fan either of like half double crochet when you have to turn the work. It just looks, I don't know. I don't like the way it looks when you go back and forth on half double crochet rows. They just look different. And then if you do the sleeves and not turning, you have a different look too. So I really like the look of these double crochet and single crochet rows together. I hope that you all like them as well. I'm very particular and kind of picky about my work, so I wanted to get this right. I wanted to get the stitches right. I wanted to get the look of it right. I had something specific I was really going for, and it took a lot of tries, but here we are. We've got, what, 8 sizes now of this cardigan, so somehow it's worked. So we are just keep going and going and going and going. Okay, I've got to find something to do with this cord. There we go. Maybe that will help. Okay, and then this, so we have a couple of rows that are left open in the back where the front panels don't meet the back panels, so that's what we call the neck rows that are left open. And there's only 3 rows on this one. I know that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but once you add the border to it, it'll make more sense. Because the border once the border gets to the top, it folds down like a collar. So we are trying to get to row 22. I just realized I didn't finish. So this pattern I haven't actually typed up yet. I'm just going off of my written notes, which is kind of scary because my handwriting's awful. Excuse me. So I just realized I did not even say specifically what row it ends at. I'll have to go back and look at that. So the child sizes differs from the adult sizes because, first of all, the pockets. I eliminated the pockets out of it. The adult sizes have hidden pockets that you leave open and then you go back and you work the inside of them later. I like the hidden pockets a lot, but with this child size and stuff, it would just be hard to do. One thing I have noticed though with adult sizes, when I was making there's 3 adult sizes. There's a extra small, which fits women 0 to 6, and then there's a medium large, which fits 8 to 12, which is what I am actually wearing now. But I wear about a women's 8, sometimes 10, depends on the day. And it's very comfy and roomy, so it definitely could go up to a 12 or maybe even larger. And then there's an extra large / 2XL, which is for women's 14 to 20. And that one is, I had a couple testers on that and then a model, and they all said it definitely could go up to 20, maybe a 22 even. So it's definitely comfy and roomy. The cardigan fits a wide range of sizes, but I did notice that on the adult sizes, the pockets, I kind of adjusted them a little bit. I had them lower on the initial first completed pattern. I had them a little bit lower, and then I did move them up while my testers were working. And just because of the angle of them, I don't know, my phone doesn't stay very well in the pocket. I did actually deepen the pocket too from the first one. So, which I have the very first one, so of course that one has a little bit of issues, but I think they are all worked out, all the kinks. I am going to count my rows after this because I should end on row 22. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, so I'm on row 21. So we are going to go to row 22, and then row 23 will be the sleeves, or not sleeve, the armhole row. So we're getting there. All right, we have row 22. So let me work this one. And then I'll show you what it looks like. So although the child sizes and the adult sizes are slightly different, they're the same technique. Same technique with joining the shoulders, same technique with the border. So that's definitely what I'm going to show you today. Okay, I'm going to count my rows just to make sure. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So then I'm going to chain 1 and well, let me show you what it looks like real fast. So here we've got the front panel, and then now we've got the back panel, and we're going to work the arm roll, and then we're going to do the other side front panel. So it's coming along nicely. And 16. So we're going to chain 12 and count 12, make sure there's 12 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so chain 12. Okay. All right, so now here we've got the armhole, and so we're going to take and slip stitch into this. So here's the chain 2 from row 22. So we are going to take and slip stitch into the chain. Now I did make a note that not to slip stitch around the chain, just because it doesn't, with slip stitching it doesn't work out too well. So I would slip stitch into the chain. and then slip stitch again into the chain, and then turn left over right, readjust your tension, and then crochet back down in the back bump. So it's kind of tricky to find that back bump on the first one, but we've got it. There we go. Okay, and then this is number 12. So we got 12, 13, 14, 15, all right, 27, then 28, looks good. And chain one, and then turn. So we are at the top again. We are going to slip stitch. You can see right here, this is the single crochet row. We're going to slip stitch into the side of the single crochet. And then we're going to slip stitch into each of the chain twos. And then we're going to turn our work left over right. And why do I say left over right? That is because if you turn right over left, this right here is going to be twisted. So turning left over right keeps it from twisting. Obviously, I'm right-handed, so if you're left-handed, you might have to adjust and modify, but it keeps it from twisting, keeps that top up here straight. You'll just notice that if you go the other way, it twists it up. Unless you have a different technique that works for you, then by all means, go for that. So we are on row 3 of this front panel, which I said I didn't have the rows, so this is 24, 25, 26. So then we're going to go row 29, it sounds like. So obviously this is a lot faster than the other one. I wanted to do a full tutorial, and I just figured that baby size was going to be the easiest. I don't want to bore you with, a 2 or 3 hour long video. So this will give you the rundown how to do it, and then you just follow the pattern for the stitch count and everything for that particular size that you are making. So this is row 27. So I went into the last stitch here, and now I'm going to slip stitch to join to this single crochet row here. And then join across the chain 2 to give you your chain 2, and then turn your work left over right, readjust your tension, and move on. So this is row 4, 5, 6, 7, 28. So we just have one row left, and we are done with the other front panel. And we have a nice little start to our cardigan. So I named this pattern the Cameo Cardigan because, first of all, I couldn't think of a name, but second of all, because Red Heart with Love has a gorgeous rose pink color that is called Cameo, and I just love it, and I thought Cameo Cardigan sounded good together, so here we are. So we are almost done with row 28. We are going to go to row 29, and I'm going to count my stitches as I work to make sure I have not missed anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. I did not miss any stitches. So we are going to slip stitch into this single crochet right here, which is from the single crochet row. This is where we last joined to. I know this can be really hard to see at times, so here we are. So now you have 3 rows left. 1, 2, 3. So we are going to finish off. All right. And now we're going to join to the bottom. So here we have the 2 armholes, we have the front panels, the back panel, and we are going to join here to the bottom corner. Let me make my slip knot. Join here to the bottom corner. So you have like the stitch here. So here's your stitches. I have been joining kind of like just right here, that way it doesn't, so it's kind of in the chain 1, kind of in the stitch right there at the bottom of the corner. That way this leaves a smooth area and isn't uneven. I need to look real fast to see how many stitches we're supposed to be doing. I didn't. Okay. Sorry, I didn't write that in my notes. So we are doing chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna half double crochet in the back bump of that chain. So 1, 2, 3. So we're doing 6, 4, 5, 6. So we've got, this is the border here, so we've got 6 going across there. So we are going to slip stitch, just like we joined the shoulder seam, we're going to slip stitch to the next single crochet. So can you see that? This is the first one we joined to, which was the side of it actually, but you're going to join to this second one here. Pull the slip stitch tight, that way it closes up that gap. You've got that, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next two. So if you were to slip stitch in just one and you turned and you worked your half double crochet across, I will tell you your ribbing will start to kind of wave. So that's why we're doing slip stitch into two. It'll work out perfect, I promise. So then turn left over right, tighten your tension, and then we have our 6 stitches here. Oh, well, there's the first one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're gonna we're gonna half double crochet in the back loop only. So here's our back loop. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're gonna do both loops on the last one. I'll tell you why. That's because if you do the back loop only across, it would be fine. It just would leave I don't know, like a open loop area. So we're doing we chain 1, turn, do back loop only across. So you definitely want to do through both loops on the last one. So now we're going to slip stitch into this next stitch. So we're essentially sewing this on as we go. I mean, I know I've seen many patterns that you do a border and then you take and sew it on afterwards, and I will tell you the ones I've done like that takes a lot of concentration out of me, using stitch markers and matching it up and making sure I'm sewing correctly and not leaving all kinds of stuff over, and yeah, a lot of work. So we'll just join and sew as we go. 3, 4, 5, 6. So join to the next slip stitch. Oh, if I can pay attention. And then join to the next 2. Turn your work left over right. And then half double crochet in the back loops of 5 stitches. Then back loop of both. So chain 1 and turn, back loop only across the entire 6 stitches. Join, join again, and turn. So back loop only. Oh goodness. And both loops there. Let me show you what it looks like. So you've got this kind of nice little ribbing there. And I will tell you something else I've noticed with this cardigan pattern is that the yarn, I've used a variety of different yarns. I've used Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn. I have used Red Heart with Love. I have used Big Twist from Joann's, the value one, and I will tell you that it makes a big difference after you wash it. I've done some photos pre-washing and I've done some photos after washing, and it just lays really pretty after you wash it. The stitches relax and kind of smooths out this border. It looks really good. Yeah, and I really wanted to test out a variety of yarns, and I was pretty impressed. I've worked with Big Twist a lot, but I guess I've never really paid attention to how much of a difference it makes from pre-wash to after wash. For the price of that yarn, of the Big Twist, I was really impressed with how well it turned out for a cardigan. It was really soft afterwards. It laid really well. The Big Twist ones I've made was the they're not posted on the blog yet, but they will be soon, was the child, the preschool 3-5, and then the toddler 1-2 years. So those are both made with Big Twist, and they have turned out really well. So we are just half double crocheting it across these 6 stitches in the back loop only, except for the last one. And joining to sew it together as we work. And I will show you, we're almost to the neck, so I will show you what to do here. And this is the first time I have crocheted up this pattern size, so it seems like it's working out pretty well though. I typically go off of my gauge and off of measurements and all of that to write up the pattern, and then I crochet it up and make sure everything works out smooth. So yes, I have crocheted every single size of these cardigans and taken all the pictures myself. So it's been fun though. So we are getting to the very top of the front panel and we are getting close to the neck. So we're gonna pretty much follow the same concept of joining around the neck as we did for joining the shoulder seams. Okay, so here we are. We joined, if you can see, we joined here. This is the last stitch of the front panel. And then we've joined here, which is where the panel joined. So I usually go into this one, just because if not, it leaves a little bit of a gap. Closes that up. And then slip stitch again. I'm gonna put this tail out of my way. Slip stitch again into those chains. So readjust your tension, turn. So I'm going to actually work over this tail. So here I get to show you how I do my tails. So when I am changing colors or have to finish off work, this is how I work it. I go over the tail and I don't go completely over it. I usually just leave maybe about that much out. And then I will go back with a needle and sew it back through the opposite direction, so that'll keep it from coming unraveled. Or I've seen people do different techniques too to keep their tails from coming loose and unraveled. I mean, this is a cardigan. We're going to wear it. We're going to wash it. You want it to be durable and not have threads poking out. So here we are. We're going to slip stitch to this single crochet, and we're going to slip stitch again to these chain twos. So that was the last row of the neck, and there's the front panel. We'll be working down that. So turn. Okay, so now these are the foundation single crochet rows because they kind of look a little different. So we're just going to go actually into right here. So go into the top of that stitch, slip stitch it together, slip stitch the next two, turn your work. And then just go back down that other side of the front panel just like you did the other one. So it kind of, you have to really look sometimes. So when I looked at that, I had it pulled over. I thought this was the next stitch, but it's not. You see, I already joined to that. So you have to really watch what you're doing. I joined to the first one, slip stitch to 2 more, and then turn, readjust my tension. We are almost done with the base part of the cardigan, and we are almost ready to work on our sleeves. So I love how fast, I mean, even though this is a baby size, obviously it's quicker, but the other cardigan sizes really work up really fast. I mean, I know I crochet fast also, but they work up really quick, and I've had lots of people that's told me that they love how fast this pattern is, how cute it is, and I am so excited that everybody is loving it as much as I do. It just shows that hard work, even though the first couple of tries I almost gave up on, it really looked like I was wearing a blanket and I didn't like the look of it. So even though I gave up on those first couple of tries, it definitely has worked out. So I have been, let's just chat for a little bit. I have been crocheting since I was about, I say 8 years old, and I'm not quite exactly sure if that was the age I started, but my grandma, she sewed and crocheted, and she was very crafty, and she had taught me when I was young. So I used to crochet with her. You know, we would make little dolls, dresses, and blankets and cute things, and I would pick it up here and there just for like little projects and stuff, but never really got into crocheting as much as I do now until I was pregnant with my 3rd child. So that was actually 7 years ago now. She will be 7 this November. So I don't know, I just really wanted to explore more into different stitches and different things to make, and making hats and scarves and gloves and just a lot of wearables, and so I started getting more into it then. And I used to, I had a page where I sold some of my work, and I would make stuff for friends and family, and you know, I absolutely loved doing it. Well, I went to hair school also, so I've always kind of had like, you know, a little creative in me and some design in me. So in 2017, I decided that, you know, I had been designing my own stuff for years and not really using patterns, and just making up my own stuff, and I liked doing it. So I decided to focus more on the design part of crocheting and sharing, you know, my knowledge with others. So I have been focusing on that since 2017, and that's when I started my blog and my YouTube channel and all of that. And so it's still a big work in progress, but I am happy to be here doing what I love doing. I obviously have 3 kids, and still I work full time. I'm a nurse, and but this is just an art that I have a huge passion for, and I'm so grateful that my grandmother taught me how to do this, because you know, when I talk to people about crocheting or crafting and stuff, there's just I don't know a whole lot of people that crochet. I know that on the Facebook world and stuff, I see there's tons of you out there, but you know, me personally and my friends and family group, there's just not a lot of crocheters out there, and they always ask me, they're saying, can you teach me? Well, unfortunately, you know, life's busy, and you know, with working and kids and stuff, I just haven't had time to sit down and teach people, and I've been trying to teach my girls, which is a lot of work, so we're working on that. But I really wanted to focus more on, you know, videos and how-tos and tutorials and teaching people, and I'm hoping to do maybe some Facebook Lives and getting my friends and family to join in and learning this beautiful art of crochet, where it is your own work, and you know, everybody puts their own technique and own spin into things, and they make it their own. So I love it. You know, I have seen people using my patterns, and you know, they share the work and they add their own colors or their own, you know, ideas, and share with me some techniques that they did. And I love that part of it, that it's all very unique to you and what you do. So hoping to see more and share more and be there for everyone, and learn from you guys too. So we are at the very end. Here we are. We are going to slip stitch into this last sorry, I had my camera up high. So we're going to slip stitch into this last stitch here, which is actually down here, but it's just because the placement's weird. So if you read the pattern, it says you'll end on the outside or the inside, and then you can chain one and crochet across. Well, that's not quite what that happened. So for some reason, it's just how it turns out. This one actually ended on the inside. I am going to cut and finish off, and then I am going to reattach at the corner here. Going through both loops of the half double crochet, if I can get there. Okay, so I'm going to attach with a slip stitch, pull it tight, chain one, single crochet because we are working across the bottom border. So there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, down the 6 stitches, and then we're going to go across the bottom border, across the whole thing. And I'll flip it over and show you what it looks like. So here is this is the foundation single crochet row, so I'm just going to stick my hook somewhere in there. There we go. And then we're going to work on 2 in the DC rows. So 1, and I'm crocheting over this tail so that it kind of weaves in as I go. And then there's a single crochet row, so we're going to do 1 into there. Now I also want to show you a technique I do when I'm going into the ends of rows. There's several of my patterns where you go into the ends of the rows, lots of hats. I always go through 2. So see, there's kind of like two pieces of yarn on there. I always go through 2 just because it's a little bit extra secure. And I'm going through the middle of this chain here. So through the middle of this stitch on the DC row, middle of that stitch. You'll be able to see it better now with these tails out of the way. Middle of the chain here. I should sit up better. Middle of the DC. So there's 2 for the DC. Here's the single crochet row, and I'm going to go through the middle of that chain. So see how it's working out. I mean, I could have went through that little space that's above the chain, but I really want to keep it where it's nice and smooth. Okay, so there was the last of the single crochet row, and then we're gonna single crochet in these 6 border stitches, and then if you notice, we crocheted across the back bump. So now we're doing the other side of the chain. This is where we started at. All right, so we are finished with the bottom border, we are finished with the side border, we're finished with the front panels and the back panel, and oh goodness gracious. And here we have this cute little cardigan. So that's how it's gonna look, is that this part kind of folds down a little bit, and then this is left a little bit open. So cute. So then we will join the sleeves.